Welcome back, everybody, to the Breakthrough Moment podcast, where we interview successful entrepreneurs and investors and ask them what is their biggest breakthrough moment. And as they share their breakthroughs with us at home can have breakthroughs as well. I'm Zac Deane, special guest Juan Montenegro. Are you there, Juan? Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you for the invitation, and I'm glad to be here to kind of share some some ideas and some learnings along the way. So yeah, happy to be here.
I'm sure you've got a bunch of amazing lessons with your resume that I'm about to share with everybody. Everybody at home, get a pen and paper. Let me give you a quick little intro, Juan, and then we'll jump straight into things. So for those of you who don't know Juan, he's actually the founder of walletfinder.ai. He works at the intersection of DeFi, on-chain data and product development, building tools that turn complex blockchain data into clear, usable products. He comes from a professional background as a business analyst, product owner with experience defining requirements, prioritizing roadmaps, and translating business user needs into shipped features. He's got over 16 years of experience as a systems engineer. He's a gym lover, high intensity trainer, gym goer. And he's also, interesting fact, a DJ, producer of underground electrical music as well. I'm actually meeting a lot of entrepreneurs who are creative. They've either been, background in film or they're doing music. It's really, really interesting. I think that creativity, you bring that into business too. So without further ado, tell us, what's been the biggest breakthrough moment throughout your career thus far?
Sure. Yeah. So I would say that the last breakthrough moment that I had, especially going into entrepreneurship, was realizing that I was able to do a lot more things that I was originally envisioning. Because especially when you tackle on big projects or complex projects like blockchain that require a lot of digging, a lot of information, processing large amounts of data, and there's a lot of infrastructure challenges that you have to go through. At that time, I was kind of scared a bit, and also kind of dubious about it, getting doubts if I was able to make it. But I'm here 2 years down the line on that project, and it's been great, and also made me realize like the full potential that we can do. Even if you're getting into it's a space that you know a bit. So at the time, I was like 5 years into the space, but I wasn't implementing projects in blockchain, which require a lot of digging, a lot of learning. But it was good. Apart from that, something that helped me a lot during the process was hearing or listening. Actually, it's called "How I Built This" from Guy Raz. It's a very very well known podcast, and most of the entrepreneurs there, I would say like maybe 50% of them, they didn't have any clue about the space they were getting into, and that is something that it made me realize that it's okay if you don't know something. You can learn it along the way, and that's actually the best way to go about.
Isn't it interesting? Literally now more than ever, we can choose something that we want to learn about and learn it in such a short period of time with AI and networking and social media and things like that. It's just a wild, wild world that we live in. I'm curious, one, like, was there a specific moment? Like, was there a moment when you were doing your job or when you were building, the AI? Like, was there a specific moment where you're like, like that's the breakthrough? Like, could you take us into that moment?
Yeah, maybe it was seeing the initial traction of the platform, even with organic marketing. So, getting the sense of what you're building is something that is interesting or has value for users. That is actually the moment that, or the happiest moment, let's say, when I was building the project. Because you can also build a project and spend maybe, well, not spend, but invest a year or 2 years into a project, and maybe there's no market fit, the users are not interested, or they're not engaged. So of course there's a lot of details that go into conversions, users activations, and marketing and those sort of things. But I would say that yeah, the breakthrough moment was actually seeing first, for example, before launching, we had like a list of users that were interested. So we got around like 250 users, and that stayed online for a month. So without like, it was very organic because I only did SEO at the time, and it was good to see it. And then when we launched it in August this year, and seeing daily user signups, because we have daily signups, and it's very very interesting to see that. And I was not expecting it until more time down the line, right?
Curious then. So yeah, it's seeing, sometimes seeing the results are super motivating. You know, it's kind of like, it's like, yes, this is working. It's probably like a eureka, like, yes. But what advice do you have for other entrepreneurs or founders out there who maybe are not at that level where they're seeing any results, and maybe they have to like hold the vision in their mind? Like, how did you stay inspired for your vision and for your product when there were no results in the beginning?
Right, and that's a great question.
A quick pause before we continue. Hey, everybody, please, if you're enjoying this podcast, if it's allowing you to think differently and have your own breakthrough moment too, please subscribe. Please like this video, share it with somebody else, and even comment below. I'd love to know what has been your biggest breakthrough moment listening to today. I read all the comments, and your responses help me shape the future of this podcast so other people can have breakthroughs too. All right, let's get back to it.
And this is something that I've learned not only myself, but also I think I heard like all the episodes of that podcast, which has like 8 or 10 years. And there are common points of entrepreneurship. So one of them is you have to be a little bit crazy, a little bit on the sides, because you have to really trust your vision, and go make it happen, even if your family members, even if your friends tell you that it won't work, or regardless, you just have to go with your vision and what you are thinking about it. Most successful businesses, they are at least 5 years or old, and some of them, they even had like 10 years until they became profitable. So what I'm saying is, and especially this is true at this time and age, that people, they have a little bit of patience, and they expect like quick results. But in this case, when you're building a business, you're here for the long term. And as long as you keep building it, it keeps stacking and building, and kind of you're better in a better position than you were yesterday. And know that throughout the way, there will be days that you will feel like, oh, I wasted this amount of time, or I'm not seeing any results, so maybe I have to go and whatever you were doing before. If you, let's say, left your job, for example, something I can also recommend is to keep your daytime job until you get a real traction. That is something. So there is this notion of, or this idea, that some entrepreneurs, they say like, oh, I'm going all in, I'm quitting my job. And unfortunately, most businesses, they take years until they take off, and you have to be able to support yourself and your family during that time. So, and that may take, it may take months, it may take a few years. So it is important that you can support yourself, and not be in the position to, or even left everything there half baked, and then go back to business, going back to like your daytime job. So yeah, that's also kind of yeah, advice that I can share.
Some great advice. Those are some key, super realistic and super grounded pieces of advice that I think anyone who's about to start a business should be educated on. Because I think we live in this world where, we see social media and we're like, oh, these people are so successful in such a short period of time. And we see the highlight reel. We see none of the hard work. We see none of the moments of failure. We see none of the moments of them breaking down and wanting to quit. We don't see the horrible side of entrepreneurship. And so, yeah, hearing that is really helps us become level headed. I always recommend people have a job and have their main income and then build something and that's aligned to their values and vision on the side. And eventually, it can take 5 years. So long
Yeah,
term vision is so important.
and even if you have a job, let's say, it is also challenging. For example, myself, I currently have two jobs, and one of them funds for for the platform, the infrastructure, employees, freelancers I work with. It's been challenging also because it's been years since I didn't take like 15 days of being completely off, because most of the jobs are I'm working as a contractor, so the days that I don't work is days that I don't get paid, and I need the money to fund the business. So it is challenging. So I can imagine that even if you don't have some so income to support yourself, that is it's even more challenging, and the success probability is less. It's very small.
I'm curious, and yeah, myself too. I do some online sales. I have, my own little business on the side and some other projects. Yeah, it's important to have the main thing for building the income and then build on the side in the beginning. What do you wish that you did in the beginning? Like before you started your entrepreneurial journey, what's like the one thing that you wish you did better or improved upon or didn't do?
Yeah, I start earlier. Yeah, I wish I would have started earlier, and not because as you mentioned. So I've been like 16 years working for many different companies. Some of them were very big. And although I've met great people along the way, and they were great experiences, and that's kind of the leverage that I use also on my project. And probably I couldn't maybe I couldn't get to this stage without that experience. But maybe starting earlier, and starting the entrepreneurship earlier. I did other project or stuff, but they were very like side projects and not a company in itself, or a startup. So that is the first learning. Something else that I can say that are more practical is, if you are, for example, making an application, I would directly do the application mobile, and not necessarily on web. Most of the users are mobile nowadays. And another advice that I could say is, don't do like light mode and dark mode. Just stick to one, and you cut your development in half. That is also another learning that because if, let's say, you're doing interface, right? So your front enders will take more time to develop, like both dark mode and light mode, and you also have like higher chances of having bugs or text that is not readable because they forgot a specific text or label. So that is something that also reduces the chances of getting that. Another advice that I can give is, try to have full stack engineers instead of divided between backend and front end. That saves a lot of time. Having a clear documentation, especially if you are not from the background of system administration, or like kind of functional analysis, because you need to be able to articulate your requirements in a way that the developers understand. And it's not that difficult, but you need a way to for them to understand, and make sure that you are not ambiguous, so you're clear into what they need to build, and that will save a lot of back and forth. um, then what else? Don't uh, do the documentation. Like, always take some time during the development to do some sort of documentation, not only for your users, but also of what you're doing in the platform. Because if you have to onboard new engineers or developers, you will need that documentation to fetch them, and also they will it can get you in trouble if you don't have the code commented, or that sort of thing, right? If you are not technical. So for example, myself, although I'm an engineer, I don't code. The last code that I made was on my thesis. I don't like to code, but I'm very good translating requirements, and kind of thinking from the end user perspective, and leading teams, but not necessarily that will be the reality of entrepreneurs, right? So I would say try to be clear, not ambiguous, and yeah, documentation. And let me think if something else like it's important. And
Yes.
treat them right. If you have freelancers and people you work with, treat them right and be really human. Because, for example, especially if you work with freelancers that are from other countries, even they have their uses, or they have um, their holidays. Respect them. They are also people, and the better you treat them is also how loyal they will be, let's say, down the line. And it's very important, and that also determines how much effort and how much love they put into your application. So that is something that I'm kind of uh, attest to that. So I've always put like love also in the relationship with the freelancers that I work with. And those will be the main. I maybe I have some others, but those will be yeah, the most important ones.
There's some great tips. This is great. There's definitely a theme of, yeah, really making sure you do things right, and come out building a business from a long-term approach, not a short-term approach. This isn't a slot machine or a pokey machine. It's not gambling. You know, those people that do business because they want that quick hit of dopamine, and that it's not going to last long term. The people that I interview on this podcast, they're a 10-year overnight success. So they've been working 20 years and they've become successful in 1 or 2 years. You know, they've been working for a long time. And look, it is possible now with AI, right? AI is changing the game. We can do more. One person can do more now than ever before with the use of AI and building a team and things online with these agents. So I'm curious, what AIs are you using personally as a founder? Um, we'll start there. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Just quickly before we continue, if you're an entrepreneur out there or a high performer who wants more clarity and direction in life, or maybe you're going through some kind of turbulent transitional phase, I want to share with you something that I co-built. It's called the Life Blueprint System. It's an AI-powered goal-setting process that helps you create a personalized life blueprint, kind of like an architectural plan or a business plan, but for your life. And so it allows you to take and capture those big ideas, those amazing thoughts you have, and to turn it into a proven plan of action. And so if you want to stop guessing and start building your future intentionally and consciously, go to the lifeblueprint.io to learn more. Let's go back to the episode.
I've used like the most known one. So the one that I use the most is ChatGPT, because it has most of my information, and that I fetched all the information regarding like the business, personal things, and also like asking questions. I've also used Grok for like more writing, and Claude. I like Claude for example, for articles or kind of research. And then I've used Gamma for presentations, but I don't like it. They look super generic to me, so they always like sell it as is great, but yeah, I don't like it that much. And I tend to, although AI is great, I tend not to use AI like whatever it's back. So it needs some editing, some processing. And I've also used Lovable and Cursor. But again, the interfaces. I see a lot of vibe coding, especially on X, and crazy monthly recurring revenue, and things. But I do think that if you're building a long-term business, you really want to understand what is happening in the code, and that is like bug-free. Because, for example, in our application, although the users, the only information we store is their email and their password, they're safely stored in incognito. So they're in Amazon, and it's in the US soil. And it's very important, especially, let's say, if you want to down the line get investors or sell your company, how you do the user provisioning is very important. Because if someone or a company is interested in buying your application, if your users are not in a safe place, that it has like certain security measures and it's certified, then it's difficult, and it may, go, the sale won't happen because you didn't take that, or you were not careful with that. And that is something that happens if you don't have a technical background. If you don't have some sort of architecture engineering background, I would say that get a co-founder, or get someone that can kind of help you with that, because the vibe coders, the most of the applications, they have a lot of bugs. There were a lot of leaks of users information. And especially if you're getting, I don't know, name, email, address, of course, I would say that most applications, they don't get the credit card. If you're getting credit card details stored, don't do it. And kind of but most use third parties, payment providers. But I would say that have those things in place, or use also AI, for example, to ask, hey, what are the security measures that I have to do with the data that my users have, or if there any exposure, if you have to, I don't know, implement certain security keys, and those things that can really, it can, like, end your business from one day to the other if you don't do, for example, MFA to your servers, or let's say that your site is hosted on a third party platform. You want to have MFA authentication enabled in all of them. You want to have different passwords, so things that are very important, otherwise you can get hacked. And there's many stories of businesses and sites that were hacked, and they lost the access, and that was it. So it is very important to also take those sides of engineering into account. Maybe I went, sidelines, but yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah, you mentioned Cursor and Lovable. These are the no code kind of software
Yes.
programs these days. Another friend of mine recommended Manus as well. And this is like such a huge space where people can have an idea, create it online through a couple of sentences or a prompt. But what you're saying is that to really make it a product, you're going to need another engineer or a co-founder
Yeah,
with
you need a
more
team.
engineering knowledge,
Yes.
because I found there's always like a bit of a glitch and then I'm like stuck.
Yeah, so they're great for example, quick prototypes. So if you're validating an idea, or you want to, for example, they said that you have a client. It's not your company, so to speak. Let's say you are doing some work for a client. You can use it for prototyping, but then the end product, you require a team, because there's a specific reason why there's a engineer or an architect, front-end developers, back-end developers. Not necessarily because I have that experience, but I see also the issues with just doing it all by yourself. And I've seen, for example, entrepreneurs vibe code the app, but then their support sucks because they get back to you in 5 or 6 days. And you know I support other entrepreneurs, and I use other applications, but you really need a team. It's you're building a product, and then the product can become a company, but you need to have support. You need to be able to reply to emails. You need to be able to do marketing, and a lot of different things that you kind of do it by yourself. So I think that's the narrative of AI, that, oh, AI is magic and can do everything, and that's not true. It can increment your output, and it can help you with ideation, but it's not like completely replacing headcount. Even the companies, and something that I've been reading lately, that there's a lot of, or there were a lot of layoffs, and they attribute to AI. But actually, it's not that much of AI, because there are also studies that say that most of the companies that they implement AI, they need someone in the middle, and the results are they take more time actually fixing the AI slop, and it's not there yet. Maybe in 5 years, when we're like getting to more AGA, maybe there it can fully replace humans, but it's something that you have to take it with a grain of salt. So it is good for prototyping. So going back to you, the answer is good for prototyping, but then you need to know like how all the integrations work with the different APIs of your application, the security, how you will authenticate users, the data. Data is super important. You can get sued out of data leakage. and you have a bigger problem, not only losing your company, but having a legal issues. So yeah, that is something that I kind of usually, and also for those that follow on X, it's something that I usually tell, like, you kind of really create a great product just by yourself, because there's a reason. Also, for example, I wouldn't dare. I work with a freelancer as a designer that I actually met in Mexico City, and we were working together for a project, for a banking project, like 2 years, and now he's doing the designs for the application, and I don't have the eyes of the designer eyes, right? And if you just believe that the AI can generate all that, all the interfaces look the same, so there's not really differentiation. So yeah, just my 2 cents out of on that topic in particular.
It's more than just 2 cents. Those are some pearls of wisdom. This is some really powerful insights into just being intentional, planning, setting yourself up for success. I have a question, and then
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
before I do that, what is AGA? You said like in 5 years there's going to be AGA. What is that? Is that the
Yeah,
robots that are going to take over?
like general, it's called like general artificial intelligence, or artificial general intelligence. So this is an idea, or the notion that an AI will be able to process information in a similar way as we do. So they will be able to not only do things that they were trained for, but also things that they they don't know how to do, but they will learn by themselves without relying on data to be trained on. But yeah, we are getting there, but not there yet. But I'm also a believer that maybe it exists, but it's not available to the public. As I'm also a believer that artificial intelligence was way before available, but it was maybe a military applications. Yeah, AJ will get eventually.
For sure. If we have access to some of these things now as the public, they're going to be 100 steps ahead of us. They've probably had this for 10, 20 years or something. There's definitely a global release of this information. I think I can just see it. Want to
Yes. Yeah. Well, I would say that if you have an idea.
Pause before we continue. The first way we as entrepreneurs introduce ourselves when we walk into a room, it's our energy, right? People feel that. And secondly, it's our face. How healthy do we look? So for the entrepreneurs out there who care about how they show up, I'd love to share with you personally. I've been utilizing some Korean skincare products now just for over a month, and I had no idea about them up until, even just 2 months ago. But it's by far one of the best investments I've made for my skin. I feel it's literally making me look younger, and it has this like glassy, super fresh look. And so this is the number one exported Korean beauty brand and skincare line in the world. The ingredients are second to none. Even pregnant women can utilize them, because out there's so many products that have toxins in them that really make our face not healthy over a long period of time. And so if you're out there and you want to match the energy that you output with how healthy you look, you can trial these products risk-free for 30 days. If you don't like them, send them back and get all your money back. If you're out there, if you're curious, check out the link below to learn. Let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, and you want to, let's say, go after it, right? I will try to find, usually, and this comes from a book. It's called The Millionaire Fast Lane. I don't remember the author name, but she's great at saying this. Let's say, when you want to have an idea, usually it's because, or you want to solve a problem, or you want to get paid because of you solving that problem, right? So the money comes from the value creation. So you create value to users of your product, even if that's a physical product, right? So, or you're creating value for a certain amount of people. So let's say that you have an idea, but that's something that could solve the problem of, I don't know, very, very tiny people will be interested in that. Then you have to be really like honest with yourself, and probably that won't fly. So if you tackle issues that larger groups of people have, and they are willing to give their hard earned money to kind of fix those issues, and that it's a better idea in terms of business, because you can have a great idea, you can have a great product, but then if no one pays for it, there's no people interested in that, then there's there's no point in you investing the time, unless you want it for yourself and you don't want to get paid for that. But I'll say that if you solve an issue and it's an issue that a million people have, then you become a millionaire. So, and there's one advice, and the second advice is um thinking about the unit. So you can either, for example, sell 1,000 units of a $10 product, and then you have 10,000, right? Or you can sell 1,000 and you need to sell less amount of, or have a less amount of users. If you are doing an application, I always go back to applications because it's like more like my kind of what I know, right? But that also is true for products, physical products. So if your physical product is in the ranges of, I don't know, 50 to 100 US dollar, that's better than if it's between 5 to 10 bucks. Because also on really tiny margins, you cannot spend. And usually the company that can outspend you in advertising will finally get those customers. So from your cost, you need to take into account like advertising and marketing. So the higher your price is, your price target of whatever you're selling is, the more space that you can play around with advertising, with marketing, and also the less amount of units that you have to sell.
Makes total
Hopefully that
sense.
was clear. Yeah. Yeah.
Everest.
And I have two
Um,
two more. So the one that you mentioned about talking to people is very important, because you need to get a sense if they will use it, if that's something that will be valuable. So that is also the key of the matter, because if no one will use it, or people is not interested, then there's no point. And then the second one that I will say, which is something that I didn't in my case for the platform wall finder, I knew that there was a market for it, but I can recommend that you start selling before building. So let's say that you want to build a specific product. Is before building it, you can build a simple landing page or a sign up for, give your email and you'll be put on the wait list. And maybe put some ads to it, or Google ads or Facebook ad, whatever, and then validate if there is interest. Because let's say that you send like that sign up to 10,000 people or 100,000 people, and there's like a very very tiny percent of user interested in that, then maybe that's not the best idea to pursue, and you will save a lot of time before building something that might not be interesting, or that might not be a need for you. Yeah.
important, right? Yeah. That's like,
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, you save a lot of time, you save a lot of headaches, you may save like years of work. Yeah, I would say that. And also, apart from, let's say that you validate that there's some traction, there's interest, and you decide to build it, then start with your landing page, even if that's a super simple one, and start creating content. So SEO takes time. So you can even start like a year or a year and a half before you decide to launch, so that you already have some traction from the search engines. And now that not only search engines, but you want to answer questions that people will usually have, so that you're also getting mentioned in LLMs too. And there's of course some PR that you need to add to it, because LLMs not only research information per se, but also they research your company, your employees, etc. So that is also something that I can recommend. So let's say that you validate your idea, then start putting out content, and that content make sure that answers questions apart from having keywords.
get in
Yeah.
touch.
Well, they can find me. They can find me on X. They can find me on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, you can find me as Juan Montenegro. by the way, I'm in the process of getting funding for the company to make it grow. So maybe that's something, if someone is interested, we can have a conversation. It's a very great numbers there. And then on X, you can find me as Cryptus D. And you can also, well, my Instagram, I only use the Instagram for the kind of the music related one. I should actually have one personal one for producer music, and then another maybe for like for my person and not the company itself. But it's too much social media is also not healthy. So I from time to time I just uninstall all the applications on my phone, like all the social media. But then I have to post or I have to do something, and then I install it back again. But yeah, LinkedIn, I think it's the best way.
Or a
Oh
business
yes,
owner?
yes, of course, yeah. And regarding music, it's actually is even like a longer career than the engineering one. So, for example, engineering, you can say 16 years of experience plus 5 years of university, 6 years of universities. That's 22 years. In terms of music, I went to a musical school, so I did primary school and secondary school, which it was like two shifts. So one of the shifts, they will have like math, languages, geography, and all that, and they will have all music related. So music theory, choir. I sang in choirs since kindergarten till I was like 16. um, and then I started engineering, and I left all music for like 3 years, and then I started doing a course of DJing. Actually, I like the electronic music because of my cousin, and he would record CDs into cassettes because from that age. That is what I when I started with electronic music. So that's around like 98, 99. And then I started a course because I kind of met friends that were DJs, and they recommended to do the course because they taught me how to DJ. And I did the course. I had like a big big folder with a lot of CDs, and you have to write down all the tracks into the CDs and into paper. So it was very manual work. And then I transitioned like more USB. I also did some vinyl for like 6, 8 months. It's super challenging, and it's a different beast, so to speak. And then I started producing around like maybe 2010, and which is like, yeah, some years. Of course, initially you get frustrated, and I think that's the reality of most artists. First you get frustrated, and that happened a couple of times. Get frustrated, I will left there for a couple of months and then go back, and then I decided to take it seriously, and went back to classes. And I'm usually have a mentor or teacher, which I invested a lot. I had like 9 or 10 teachers along the way. And it's like you do steps, you do quick or not quick jumps, but jumps, from your current state when you do mentors. And that also happens not only on music but also on business. So if you have someone that can mentor you or that you can ask questions, that's good. But especially if you don't have it, and this is very important. Sorry, I'm going towards the previous topic. But if you don't have it, we are in a time and age that you can directly reach out. You can reach out in multiple platforms, and I got to talk to several people that I admire, and they actually love people with questions. And when they see that they want to, because they want to help other entrepreneurs, because it is challenging. So yeah, just my 2 cents on the mentor
Sure.
topic.
There's his back
Nice. Yeah,
question
there's many
is
engineers.
is uh what is the challenge that you'd like to impart today to the next generation of entrepreneurs or the current business owners that are watching this, or investors? Like what would you challenge people to do after listening to this?
Um, Something that I did a couple of times, but I don't do it that regularly. But it's something that we all should do. And this actually, it is recommended for anyone. And this comes from Brian Tracy. If you well, probably, or yeah, they're familiar, but it's a very, very dated. But is have a list of goals and have a list of steps. So whatever you want to tackle on the day, have the list prepared the day before. So they said that you want to, there are certain tasks that you need to do for your business, for your professional career, your artist career, whatever you do. Write it down. So the next day you start with the list and you know what's the next step, because otherwise we get paralyzed and we don't know what's the next task that we need to do. And I also have another recommendation is wake up early. And then when you wake up early, start with the heaviest rock. So you are stronger in your early morning. So you want to do that task that usually it's the heavier task and that will move forward whatever your project is about. And that is the other advice. So start with the heavier rock, and then you go with the rest of your tasks, your 9 to 5 whatever, but then you will be moving forward. You don't need to really accelerate and have everything ready, but have an increment doing that day. If you do just 1% daily, that will be a lot down the line.
I
Yeah,
highly recommend
consistency.
that, guy. That sounds
Exactly.
awesome.
Oh, thank you, Zach. Appreciate it. This was great. Have a good one.